The storm came out of nowhere, turning a bright afternoon into a trembling wall of grey, and in that moment, standing soaked on the side of an empty road, I felt my life split into before and after, because getting lost that day didn't just change where I was going, it changed who I was becoming. The rain hammered the earth with a violence that felt personal, the wind clawed at my jacket, and fear pressed into my chest as if it had hands. I didn't know it then, but the storm was about to wash away years of quiet loneliness and leave behind a truth I had never dared to face. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected moments that reshape lives, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. My name is Arif Kellen, and by the time that storm arrived, I was already lost in ways that had nothing to do with roads. I was 26, working a job that paid the bills but starved the soul, carrying the silent weight of a future that looked like a long hallway with no doors. My best friend Rowan had always been my anchor, the person who made the world feel lighter, but even he had his own life pulling him in new directions. That afternoon, I had agreed to help his mother, Celeste Rowan, drive supplies from the edge of town to a community center that had been damaged by flooding. It was supposed to be simple: daylight, clear skies, a quick drive and back. The sky lied. The first drops of rain were gentle, almost apologetic, tapping the windshield as fields rolled past us in soft greens and browns. Celeste sat beside me, calm and focused, her presence steady in a way that felt grounding. She was in her late 40s, but age had given her a quiet strength rather than taking anything away. There was a warmth to her that didn't ask for attention yet always earned it. I had known her for years as Rowan's mom, the woman who made extra food and remembered birthdays, but lately I had noticed something else. A depth in her eyes that mirrored my own unspoken restlessness. The road narrowed as the rain thickened, daylight dimming into a restless grey. Wind pushed against the car, branches bending and leaves tearing free. When the storm truly hit, it did so with fury. Rain blurred the world into streaks, the road disappearing under sheets of water, and the GPS screen flickered uselessly before going dark. I slowed, heart pounding, trying to make sense of where we were, but every turn looked the same. Somewhere between a washed-out bridge and a field swallowed by mist, we were completely lost. We pulled over near what looked like an old service road, daylight still clinging to the sky but weakened, as if exhausted by the effort of staying bright. The storm raged around us, thunder cracking overhead, and for the first time in years, I felt small and unsure. Celeste suggested we wait it out, but the rain only grew heavier, and the wind rocked the car with unsettling force. When a nearby tree shed a massive branch that slammed onto the road behind us, blocking our way back, staying put no longer felt safe. We stepped out into the storm, rain soaking us instantly, shoes sinking into mud, the air cold and sharp. Not far from the road stood an old roadside maintenance shed, its paint peeling, door hanging slightly open. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. We ran for it, laughing nervously at the absurdity of it all, hearts racing not just from the cold, but from the strange intimacy of surviving something together. Inside, the shed smelled of damp wood and rusted metal, daylight filtering through cracks in the walls, painting the dust in pale beams. Time slowed there. The storm roared outside, but inside the shed, everything felt suspended. My clothes clung to me, water dripping onto the floor, and I became acutely aware of how close we were standing. Celeste brushed wet hair back from her face, her expression thoughtful, almost vulnerable. In that quiet pocket of time, the world seemed to narrow to the two of us and the sound of rain. I realized then how long I had been carrying a sense of being unseen. Years of doing the right things, being reliable, being the friend who shows up, without ever feeling truly chosen. Celeste looked at me, not as Rowan's friend, not as a boy she had watched grow up, but as a man standing in front of her, soaked, shaken, and honest in his fear. There was no judgment in her gaze, only understanding, as if she recognized something familiar in my eyes. The storm outside intensified, thunder shaking the shed, and a tremor ran through me that had nothing to do with the cold. Celeste reached out, her hands steady on my arm, grounding me. That simple touch carried a weight of reassurance I hadn't felt in years. It said, "You're not alone, even here, even now." My breath hitched as emotion surged unexpectedly, years of quiet ache rising to the surface. She leaned closer, not rushed, not reckless, but with a tenderness that felt earned by the moment. The kiss, when it came, was soft and brief, more a promise of warmth than anything else, a human response to fear and connection colliding. It wasn't about desire as much as it was about recognition, two people acknowledging the loneliness they had both carried too long. In that kiss, I felt seen in a way that startled me, as if someone had finally reached into the storm inside me and turned on a light. When we pulled apart, there was no panic, no regret, just a quiet understanding that something had shifted. The storm outside began to ease, rain softening into a steady fall, daylight slowly reclaiming its strength. We stood there, breathing evenly now, the shed no longer feeling like a place of fear but of refuge. Eventually, the rain lessened enough for us to step back outside. The world looked washed clean, colors brighter, the air smelling of earth and renewal. We navigated around the fallen branch and found our way back to the main road, the rest of the drive quiet but comfortable. There was no need to define what had happened right away. Some moments exist simply to remind us we are alive. In the days that followed, I felt different, lighter. The storm had stripped something away, leaving clarity in its wake. I started making choices I had been postponing, applying for work that aligned with who I was becoming, reconnecting with parts of myself I had neglected. Celeste and I spoke honestly, carefully, respecting the boundaries that mattered, acknowledging the complexity of our connection without rushing it into something it wasn't ready to be. What mattered most was the kindness of that moment, the way it had cracked open a door I thought was sealed forever. Rowan never knew the details, and he didn't need to. What he noticed was the change in me, the way I stood a little taller, laughed a little easier. Sometimes storms are necessary, not to destroy, but to reveal. That day taught me that getting lost isn't always a mistake. Sometimes it's an invitation. As this story comes to a close, if this moment of kindness in the middle of chaos moved you even a little, please take a second to like the video, share it with someone who might need hope, and stay connected with Touch of Kindness by subscribing. Your engagement helps these stories reach hearts that need them. Before the final moment fades, I have one special request for you. Please leave a comment sharing whether you believe unexpected kindness can change a life, because your words matter more than you know. The storm eventually became just a memory, but the lesson stayed with me. Even in daylight, even when the road seems clear, we can be lost without realizing it. And sometimes it takes a sudden storm and a gentle act of human warmth to help us find our way back to ourselves.